before there was a night like this one, before you learned the feeling of being tired in your bones or restless in your thoughts. I was already here. I was present before the weight you carry had a name. I was with you before sleep ever became something you had to work for. You do not need to reach for me. You do not need to understand me. You do not need to stay alert, to remain close. I am not arriving now. I have always been with you. In the beginning, before beginnings themselves felt distant or complicated, there was the Word. Not a loud word, not a demanding word, a living presence, a quiet knowing, a steady awareness that nothing exists alone. That presence is with you now, as gently as breath, as naturally as gravity. You are not being examined. You are not being corrected. You are not being rushed toward anything. You are allowed to be exactly where you are. The mind often believes it must stay awake to remain safe. The body sometimes holds on, just in case something needs watching. But you were never meant to carry the night by yourself. I am the light that does not glare. I do not force the eyes open. I do not invade the darkness. I rest within it quietly until the darkness no longer feels heavy. Light does not always announce itself. Sometimes it simply stays. If thoughts drift through you now, let them pass without naming them. They do not define you. They do not lead you away from me. They are like ripples on water that remains deep and calm beneath the surface. You do not need to follow them. You do not need to stop them. They will settle on their own. You are not alone with your thoughts tonight. I know the version of you that existed before worry learned how to speak. I know the softness in you that has never been damaged, even if it has been covered for a time. Nothing in you is unfamiliar to me. You are safe to loosen your grip. The beginning was not chaos. The beginning was intention. And you were included in that intention long before this moment. Rest is not a failure of faith. Rest is a return to truth. You are not drifting away from meaning as you become drowsy. You are drifting closer to what has always held you. Let the muscles soften where they can. Let the breath find its own pace. There is nothing you must remember right now. There is nothing you must solve before morning. I remain awake so you do not have to. If your awareness fades in and out, that is fine. If you listen only to fragments, that is enough. My presence does not depend on your focus. I do not leave when attention wanders. I do not step back when sleep approaches. I am with you before thought, beneath thought, beyond thought. The Word was with God. The Word was God. And the Word is still here, nearer than effort, quieter than fear, closer than your next breath. You can rest now, not because everything is finished, but because you are held. Nothing is required of you in this moment. I am here. The light does not arrive to argue with the darkness. It does not rush in or demand that shadows disappear. It simply exists, steady and calm, until the darkness loses its weight on its own. That is how I am with you. You may feel as though parts of you are dim tonight, tired places, quiet worries, memories that soften when the world still. There is no need to push them away. There is no need to shine a harsh brightness over them. I do not overwhelm what is fragile. Light does not need permission to be present, and it does not need effort from you to remain. If the night feels thick, let it be thick. I am not threatened by it. I am not delayed by it. The light has always known how to rest inside the dark. Your eyes do not have to be open for this light to stay. Your thoughts do not have to be clear. Even your belief does not have to feel strong right now. Light is not sustained by certainty. It is sustained by truth. And the truth is this: nothing in you has gone unseen, and nothing in you has been abandoned. Sometimes the world teaches you that darkness must be fought, analyzed, or feared, but I am telling you gently now, darkness is not an enemy to wrestle at night. It is simply a space where rest can begin. You do not lose yourself when the lights go low. You do not disappear when awareness softens. You are still known. You are still held. If thoughts begin to blur or drift, allow them to blur. Light does not require sharp edges to remain real. It remains even when the mind loosens its grip. You are not falling away from me as you relax. You are moving closer to stillness. The light shines quietly within you now, not to expose, not to evaluate, but to reassure. Nothing needs fixing in this moment. Your body already understands how to settle when it is safe. Your breath already knows how to slow without instruction. You do not need to guide it. Let the night be what it is. I am not asking you to feel peace. I am not asking you to create calm. Peace grows naturally when nothing is demanding your vigilance. And nothing is demanding you now. The light shines, not because you try to see it, but because it simply is. And it will continue to shine whether you are awake, drifting, or deeply asleep. You do not have to protect yourself tonight. You do not have to stay alert for meaning or danger. I remain. If the darkness stretches, let it stretch. The light is not weakened by time. It does not flicker when the night grows long. It rests with you. And as your awareness softens, as your thoughts quiet, as your body begins to trust the stillness, know this without effort: the light has not left. It never does. You can rest here. You have spent much of your life learning how to earn what you need: attention, approval, safety, rest. The world often teaches you, quietly and repeatedly, that peace must be deserved, that calm must be achieved, that love arrives only after effort has proven its worth. But I am not like that with you. What I give does not come from negotiation. It does not arrive after improvement. It is not measured out according to how well you managed the day. Grace does not stand at a distance with crossed arms. Grace moves toward you gently, without expectation, without condition. Grace upon grace, not pressure upon pressure, not correction upon correction, not demand layered on demand. You do not need to hold yourself together tonight in order to receive what I am offering. You do not need to replay conversations. You do not need to evaluate your choices or anticipate tomorrow. Nothing is being weighed right now. Grace is not fragile. It does not break when you are tired. It does not retreat when your focus fades. Grace rests where you rest if you feel the familiar urge to stay slightly alert, as if rest must be monitored, as if letting go might cost you something. You can allow that urge to soften. Nothing is taken from you when you relax. Nothing essential slips away. You are not losing ground by resting. You are not falling behind. Grace does not rush you toward a better version of yourself. It meets you where you are and remains there with patience. You are allowed to be unfinished. Your breath does not need to deepen on command. Your thoughts do not need to line up neatly. Your body does not need to perform calmness correctly. Grace does not instruct. Grace receives. If the day left marks on you tension in the shoulders, heaviness behind the eyes, a quiet ache you could not name, those marks do not disqualify you from rest. They are simply signs that you have lived. And grace does not ask you to erase them before you lie down. You are not here to prove anything tonight. You are here to be held. The mind sometimes believes that effort is the doorway to peace. But peace does not open because you knock harder. It opens because it recognizes you. Grace recognizes you immediately. You may feel moments of calm followed by small waves of restlessness. That rhythm is allowed. Nothing is wrong with you. Grace does not withdraw when calm fluctuates. It stays through every shift, every pause, every half-dreaming thought. There is no such thing as too much grace. There is no moment where it runs thin. What you have received is not temporary. You do not need to store it carefully or guard it through the night. Grace does not leak away while you sleep. It multiplies quietly, without effort, without noise. You can let your attention loosen now. You can allow awareness to blur at the edges. Nothing meaningful depends on you staying sharp. I am not asking you to become more spiritual before resting. I am not asking you to resolve anything before morning. Grace has already arrived. It is already enough. You can rest inside it, exactly as you are. I know you by name, not in the way names are used to call someone to attention, but in the way a presence recognizes what belongs to it. Your name is not a label to me. It is a knowing, a quiet familiarity that existed before you learned how to describe yourself, before you learned which parts of you were acceptable to show, before you learned which thoughts to hide, before you learned to stay guarded, even in rest. I know you beneath all of that. You do not become anonymous when the lights go out. You do not blur into the night. You do not disappear when awareness softens. You are known without being watched. There is no scrutiny in my knowing, no evaluation, no expectation that you must present yourself clearly or correctly. I know the way your mind wanders when it is tired. I know the memories that surface only when everything is quiet. I know the parts of you that grow louder at night and the parts that finally feel safe enough to rest. None of this surprises me. You are not required to explain yourself here. You are not required to understand yourself completely before you are allowed to rest. Being known does not mean being exposed. I do not pull you into the light to examine you. I sit with you gently, allowing you to remain as you are. If you feel the urge to stay partially awake, as if someone might call your name, and you must be ready, let that urge soften. Nothing is being asked of you tonight. You are not on standby. You are not waiting for correction or instruction. You are not missing anything by letting go. I know you even when your thoughts lose their shape. I know you when language fades. I know you when dreams begin before you notice them forming. You do not need to hold your identity together while you sleep. You do not need to remember who you are in order to remain who you are. You are held more securely than memory. Sometimes being known by others has felt risky. Sometimes it has come with misunderstanding or disappointment. Sometimes it has required effort to maintain. But my knowing does not take energy from you. It gives you permission to rest. You are not known because you perform well. You are not known because you stay strong or faithful or consistent. You are known because you exist, and that is enough. If your breathing becomes uneven, let it be uneven. If your awareness drifts in and out, let it drift. Nothing essential depends on your steadiness right now. I am not counting your breaths. I am not measuring your stillness. I am simply here. The night does not separate you from me. Sleep does not create distance. Silence does not make you harder to find. I know you when you are alert. I know you when you are tired. I know you when you are unaware of yourself at all. You are safe to loosen your grip on your own name. You are safe to become quiet within yourself. I will not forget you. You can rest now, knowing that you are already known. What is born of the Spirit does not arrive with force. It does not announce itself loudly or demand immediate recognition. It comes quietly, like air moving through a room while you rest. You do not need to mark the moment it happens. You do not need to understand the process. You do not need to stay awake to participate. New life is not something you strain toward. It is something that unfolds naturally when resistance softens. You have been taught at times to associate growth with effort, with striving, with intensity. But the Spirit does not work that way. The Spirit moves gently, without pressure, without haste. Like night air, it arrives without asking permission. Like breath, it sustains without being noticed. You are not being rebuilt tonight. You are not being reshaped by force. Nothing is being taken from you. What is born of the Spirit is not fragile. It does not depend on your alertness. It does not fade when your thoughts wander. You can rest without interrupting what is forming within you. The mind often wants clear markers before and after, cause and effect. But spiritual life is not mechanical. It is organic. It grows best when it is not watched too closely. If you feel a quiet sense of change that you cannot describe, that is enough. If you feel nothing at all, that is also enough. The Spirit does not measure progress by sensation. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing something essential by resting. Even now, as awareness softens and the body settles, life continues to move within you slowly, patiently, without disturbance. You do not need to become someone else to be renewed. You do not need to leave yourself behind. What is born of the Spirit includes all of you. Nothing is excluded. Nothing is rejected. You may notice moments where thought drifts, where images blur, where time feels less defined. These moments are not interruptions. They are invitations to let go of control. The Spirit does not require supervision. You can allow yourself to be carried by the rhythm of the night. The breath will rise and fall on its own. The body will settle where it needs to. You are not responsible for managing this process. Being born of the Spirit is not an event you perform. It is a reality you live inside of quietly, continuously, even while you sleep. There is no test to pass. There is no standard to meet before morning arrives. You are not being compared to anyone else. Your journey does not need to resemble another's. The Spirit knows the pace that suits you. If rest comes easily, let it come. If rest comes slowly, let it unfold slowly. Nothing meaningful is delayed. You are safe to release effort now. Safe to drift. Safe to become unaware. The Spirit remains with you, steady and gentle, like air that never leaves the room. You can rest inside that knowing. You do not have to understand everything tonight. You do not have to assemble meaning or connect ideas before you are allowed to rest. There are questions that only loosen when you stop holding them so tightly. There are answers that arrive quietly, without announcement, long after the mind has gone still. Understanding is not the doorway to peace. Peace is not waiting on clarity. You may notice thoughts circling, gentle, persistent, unfinished. They do not need to resolve themselves now. They can remain open, incomplete, unfinalized. Nothing is lost by letting them be. The night is not a classroom. You are not being tested. You are not required to stay attentive to earn insight. Some truths settle best when the mind releases its grip. If confusion is present, let it rest beside you without judgment. Confusion is not failure. It is often a sign that something deeper is forming beyond words. You do not need to push toward certainty. Even those who walked with me did not understand everything at once. Questions unfolded slowly, over time, in ordinary moments, not through strain, but through living. You are allowed the same patience. Tonight is not for figuring things out. Tonight is for letting the mind soften its hold on needing to know. If awareness fades in and out, that is natural. If thoughts become fragmented or dreamlike, that is allowed. You are not missing anything important by drifting. Understanding is not fragile. It does not shatter when you sleep. It is not stolen by rest. What is meant for you will remain. You do not need to rehearse your life story. You do not need to organize your memories or predict your future. You do not need to arrive at conclusions before morning. There is wisdom that grows quietly in the dark, like seeds beneath the soil. No one watches them. No one rushes them. They emerge when the time is right. You can trust that process if you feel the urge to stay slightly alert, just in case something important appears. You can allow that urge to ease. Nothing essential will slip past you while you rest. You are not responsible for catching every insight. The mind can rest without betraying truth. The body can relax without falling behind. You are safe to let understanding pause. Let the breath move without guidance. Let the body find its own stillness. Let the night carry what you do not need to hold. Clarity will come when it comes, and it will come gently. For now, you can rest in not knowing. You can rest in trust. You can rest without answers. I remain with you, steady and patient, while the questions grow quiet. You do not have to understand everything to be held. You can sleep. I sit with you at the well of your thoughts, not to draw anything out by force, but to remain with you as you rest. This is not a place of urgency. It is not a place where thirst is judged or measured. It is simply where you have paused, and that is enough. The well is quiet at night. No crowd, no questions pressing in, just stillness and depth beneath the surface. You do not need to lower a bucket. You do not need to reach down into yourself to find the right feeling or the right words. I am already here. Sometimes your thoughts gather like water that has been disturbed, small movements, gentle ripples, reflections that blur and reform. You do not need to calm them deliberately. They will settle on their own when nothing is demanding them. I am not waiting for you to explain what you need. I am not asking you to identify your thirst correctly. I already know the places where you feel dry. I know the longings you rarely name. I know the quiet fatigue that comes from carrying more than you were meant to carry. You do not have to speak any of it tonight. The well does not rush the one who sits beside it. It does not insist on drawing water immediately. It simply remains deep and steady, offering itself without pressure. You are allowed to rest here without asking for anything. If memories surface softly, let them surface. If they drift away unfinished, let them go. Nothing needs to be concluded. You are not being invited into effort. You are being invited into presence. The thirst you feel is not a problem to solve. It is a signal that you were made for more than strain, more than self-sufficiency, more than endless giving, and that more is not something you have to chase. It comes to you. If your body feels heavy, allow it to be heavy. If your breath deepens or shortens, let it find its own rhythm. There is no correct way to sit at this well. You are not being evaluated for how you rest. You are not being watched to see if you do it properly. I remain with you, whether you feel aware of me or not. The water here does not evaporate in the night. It does not disappear when attention fades. It stays cool and present, waiting without expectation. You can close your eyes here. You can let your thoughts blur. You can forget where you are for a moment. Nothing is lost. I am still here beside you, steady and unhurried. You do not need to draw anything up now. You do not need to receive anything consciously. Simply resting at the well is enough. And as your awareness softens, as the edges of thought dissolve. Know this quietly. You are not empty. You are not alone, and you do not have to stay awake to be met. You can rest here. The water I offer does not rush through you. It does not flood the senses or stir the body awake. It settles gently, meeting you where you are, moving at the pace of rest. Living water is not stimulation. It is not intensity. It is quiet satisfaction that does not ask for attention. You do not need to drink quickly. You do not need to take in more than feels natural. Nothing is being counted. This water knows how to move through tired places without disturbing them. If you notice a sense of easing, subtle, almost unremarkable, you do not need to hold on to it. You do not need to name it or protect it. It will remain on its own. The body understands this kind of nourishment. It does not react, it receives. Living water does not create urgency. It does not insist that you stay awake to experience it fully. It continues to flow even when awareness fades. If thirst has made you restless in the past, searching, reaching, hoping for relief, know that rest is not an interruption of satisfaction. It is often where satisfaction finally settles. You are not required to feel complete right now. You are not required to feel filled in a noticeable way. The deepest nourishment often feels like quiet. Let your attention loosen around the edges. Let your thoughts slow without direction. There is no need to follow the water's movement. It knows where to go. You may notice the body growing heavier, the mind less interested in forming sentences, the sense of time becoming less defined. This is not loss. This is settling. Living water does not pull you forward. It does not draw you into effort or excitement. It allows you to remain exactly where you are, while gently sustaining you. You do not have to keep yourself open. You do not have to maintain receptivity. The water does not stop when you stop paying attention. Even now, it moves quietly through you, reaching places you are not aware of, restoring without announcement. You are not being changed suddenly. You are not being overwhelmed by goodness. You are simply being cared for. If sleep begins to approach, let it come. Living water does not vanish when dreams begin. It continues its work beneath them. You do not wake to emptiness. You wake when you do, to something that has been present all along. For now, you can rest. You can drift. You can become unaware. The water remains steady, gentle, and sufficient. You do not need more than this moment. You are already being sustained. Not every healing needs a crowd. Not every restoration needs witnesses, movement, or noise. Some healing happens best when nothing is watching, when the room is quiet, when the body is allowed to rest without expectation. This is the kind of healing that does not announce itself. It does not arrive with sensation or proof. It works quietly, like the body repairing itself while you sleep. You are not required to feel better immediately. You are not required to notice change in order for change to be real. Healing does not depend on your awareness. There are places within you that have learned to stay guarded, even at night. places that brace, just in case something needs attention. You do not need to keep watch over them now. I heal without spectacle. I do not need intensity to restore what is tired. I do not need effort to reach what is worn. The night itself is gentle medicine if you carry aches that do not have clear names, fatigue that lingers, heaviness that settles without explanation. You do not need to define them. You do not need to decide whether they are physical, emotional, or something in between. Nothing here requires diagnosis. Healing is not delayed because you cannot describe what hurts. It is not blocked by uncertainty. You are not being measured for readiness. You are not being assessed for worthiness. Rest itself creates space for healing to move. If the body shifts, allow it to shift. If it becomes very still, allow that too. There is no correct response. Some healing feels like warmth. Some feels like release. Some feels like nothing at all. All of it is valid. You are not failing to heal if you feel no immediate change. You are not doing something wrong if rest comes slowly. Quiet restoration respects your pace. The mind often wants visible results, reassurance it can track, but healing does not always leave footprints the mind can follow. It works beneath awareness, beneath thought, beneath intention. You do not need to stay awake to make sure it happens. You can let your attention fade. You can let your thoughts dissolve into fragments. Nothing important depends on your vigilance. I remain present even when you are unaware of me. The body knows how to receive care when it is safe. The night gives it that safety. You are not alone in the stillness. You are not unattended. If sleep comes now, let it come without hesitation. Healing does not stop when sleep begins. Often, it finally has room to move. You are allowed to rest without watching yourself. You are allowed to be quiet without explaining why. I am here, steady and gentle, while restoration unfolds in its own time. You do not need to see it. You can sleep. Rest is not breaking anything sacred in you. It is not a failure of devotion. It is not a sign that you have neglected what matters. You have learned, sometimes without realizing it, to associate worth with motion, to believe that stopping means falling behind, to feel uneasy when nothing is being accomplished. But rest does not violate what is holy about you. It honors it. You are not stepping outside your purpose by lying down. You are not disappointing anything eternal by letting your body grow heavy. There is no rule you are breaking by resting. The idea that you must remain alert to remain valuable did not come from me. The sense that stillness equals disobedience did not originate in truth. You were not made to be vigilant without end. Rest is not neglect. Rest is trust. When the body releases tension, it is not abandoning responsibility. It is returning to balance. When the mind quiets, it is not turning away from meaning. It is allowing meaning to settle more deeply. Nothing sacred is lost when you close your eyes. If you feel a subtle guilt when you relax, as if you should be doing something else, you can let that feeling pass without argument. It does not need to be corrected or confronted. It will fade on its own. You are not required to justify your rest. You are not required to explain why you need it. Your need for rest is not evidence of weakness. It is evidence that you are human. And being human is not something you must overcome before you are allowed peace. I do not measure you by output. I do not watch the night to see if you remain productive. I am not disappointed when you stop striving. You are not more faithful when you stay tense. You are not more loved when you stay awake. Rest does not cancel devotion. It completes it. You can allow your muscles to soften further now. You can let the breath deepen or shallow naturally. There is no instruction to follow. You are safe to stop monitoring yourself. If sleep arrives gently, welcome it. If it arrives slowly, allow the slowness. Nothing is wrong. You are not stepping away from what matters most. You are being held within it. The night is not wasted time. It is not empty space. It is a place where you are allowed to be without effort. You do not have to prove your worth tonight. You do not have to remain alert to remain loved. You can rest freely. I remain with you, not asking for anything, not expecting anything. You are safe to sleep. I am the bread that does not overwhelm you. I do not arrive in excess. I do not press fullness upon you until there is no room to breathe. What I give nourishes quietly. You have known moments where taking in more information, more emotion, more responsibility left you feeling heavy rather than sustained. But nourishment is not meant to burden you. True nourishment steadies. It settles. It allows the body and mind to rest without needing more. You do not need to take in everything at once. You do not need to be filled to the edges to be cared for. This bread does not demand appetite. It does not require hunger to be proven. It meets you exactly as you are. If you feel tired of consuming, tired of processing, tired of absorbing, tired of carrying, know that rest itself is a form of nourishment. You are not required to take in more words. You are not required to understand what sustains you. The body knows how to receive what it needs without effort. If your attention drifts, that is fine. If you only sense this in fragments, that is enough. Nourishment does not depend on focus. I do not overfill you. I do not crowd your inner space. I leave room for quiet. The mind does not need stimulation to be sustained. The heart does not need intensity to be strengthened. What you receive here does not spike the senses. It does not pull you toward alertness. It allows you to soften. If the day left you feeling depleted, you do not need to replenish yourself through effort. You do not need to search for the right thought or the right feeling. Sustenance is already present. You may notice a gentle sense of enoughness, not dramatic, not pronounced. That is how this nourishment works. It does not announce completion. It simply holds you steady. You are not missing out by resting. You are not neglecting your needs by letting sleep come. Sleep does not interrupt nourishment. It deepens it. You do not wake to emptiness. You wake to continuity. For now, you can allow the body to settle further. Allow the mind to loosen its grip. Allow the sense of needing more to soften. You are already sustained. Nothing extra is required of you tonight. You can rest inside this quiet fullness. Those who come to me are never pushed awake. I do not keep them alert to prove their presence. I do not require vigilance to remain near. You are not expected to stay conscious to belong. There is no moment where drifting becomes disobedience. There is no threshold where rest turns into distance. You are allowed to come exactly as you are, tired, unfocused, half-aware, and remain. If sleep pulls at you now, it is not pulling you away from me. It is drawing you into safety. I do not stand at the edge of rest, asking you to stay. I walk with you into it. The world often teaches you that attention equals value, that if you are not fully awake, you are missing something important. But nothing essential requires your effort tonight. You are not late for anything. You are not at risk of losing connection by letting go. You do not need to hold yourself upright to be received. If your thoughts soften into fragments, let them fragment. If words dissolve before they finish forming, let them dissolve. I am not waiting for complete sentences. I am not listening for perfect understanding. I am present whether you are aware of me or not. You do not have to guard the doorway between waking and sleep. You do not have to decide when rest is allowed. You are already welcome. There is no boundary here that you might cross accidentally. There is no point where you fall out of care because awareness fades. I do not lose sight of you when your mind lets go. The night does not erase connection. It deepens it. You are not being tested on how well you rest. You are not being watched to see if you drift too far. Nothing is at risk. If your breathing slows, let it slow. If your body becomes very still, let it be still. You are not being asked to remain alert out of respect. You are being invited to rest out of trust. You do not have to stay with the words. You do not have to keep listening closely. You can allow sound to blur. You can allow awareness to fade. I remain when you no longer track time. I remain when dreams begin to form. I remain when the night becomes deep and quiet. You are not pushed awake. You are not pulled back. You are held gently, whether you are listening or sleeping. You can let go now. I am here. I am the light of the world, even when your eyes are closed, even when the room is dark, even when awareness softens and the edges of thought dissolve. Light does not disappear when you stop looking at it. It does not rely on attention to remain real. It continues quietly, doing what light has always done. You do not need to witness it. The night may feel like an absence at times, a lowering of clarity, a fading of detail, but darkness is not the opposite of light. It is simply a space where light rests differently. I am with you in this gentler way now. You are not losing your way because vision dims. You are not moving away from truth as sleep approaches. Nothing essential depends on sharpness in this moment. Light does not ask you to stay awake. It does not demand clarity before it stays. It does not withdraw when perception softens. If images drift through your mind, unfinished, blurred, dreamlike, let them drift. They do not interfere with what remains steady beneath them. You are not required to see clearly to be safe. The body knows how to rest when it is no longer scanning for threat. The mind knows how to loosen when it is not being asked to evaluate. Light here is not brightness. It is reassurance. It does not illuminate flaws. It does not expose what you wish to keep hidden. It simply remains steady and unthreatening. If you feel yourself slipping between awareness and sleep, allow that movement. There is no danger in it. There is no loss of connection. You are not falling away as consciousness fades. You are settling into something that has been holding you all along. Light does not need contrast to exist. It does not need darkness to retreat in order to be real. It stays whether you notice it or not. You do not need to picture it. You do not need to imagine anything at all. If the mind grows quiet, let it be quiet. If thoughts thin out until there are only pauses between them, let those pauses widen. Nothing is missing. I am not less present because you are less aware. I am not dimmed by your rest. Light is not fragile. The night does not overpower it. Sleep does not interrupt it. Even now, as attention loosens and time feels less defined, the light remains exactly where it has always been. With you, around you, within you. You do not need to stay alert to keep it near. You do not need to guard yourself. You can rest in this gentle illumination, soft, steady, and without demand. There is nothing you must see tonight. You are already held in the light. You do not have to see clearly to be seen. You do not have to understand what is happening within you to be known. There are moments when vision fades, not just with the eyes, but with the mind. Moments when certainty softens, when clarity feels distant, when everything becomes quieter and less defined. These moments are not failures. They are places where effort can finally rest. You have learned to trust what you can see, to rely on what is sharp and distinct. But sight is not the measure of presence. Awareness is not the measure of worth. You are seen even when you cannot see yourself clearly. You are known even when thoughts blur and self-understanding loosens. Nothing essential about you disappears when clarity fades. Nothing important is lost when attention softens. I do not require you to see your way forward tonight. I do not ask you to hold an image of who you are meant to be. You are not being guided by vision alone. There is a deeper knowing that does not depend on sight. A steadiness that remains when perception grows dim. If you feel uncertain about yourself in the quiet, unsure of where you stand, unsure of what you feel, that uncertainty does not distance you from me. I am not waiting for you to regain clarity before I remain close. You do not need to correct your thoughts. You do not need to sharpen your focus. You are allowed to rest inside, not knowing. The mind often believes that clarity keeps it safe, but safety does not come from seeing everything. It comes from being held. You are held now. If inner images fade, let them fade. If words dissolve before forming fully, let them dissolve. You are not becoming invisible. You are not slipping through anything unnoticed. I see you without needing you to present yourself. I see you without asking you to define yourself. You are not evaluated by how clearly you perceive. You are not measured by how well you understand your own state. You can let your inner vision dim. You do not need to watch yourself sleep. You do not need to monitor what is happening inside you. Nothing requires supervision. There is no danger in letting the mind grow soft. There is no risk in allowing awareness to ebb and flow. You are not falling behind yourself. You are resting inside something deeper than clarity. Even now, as thoughts thin and boundaries blur, you remain fully seen, fully known, fully held. You do not need to look for me. I am already here. You can rest without seeing by your thoughts. Before the mind begins its quiet sorting, before one idea drifts into another, before words try to explain what you feel, I know you, not as a collection of sentences running through the night, not as questions that repeat, not as worries that circle back on themselves. I know you as you are. Beneath all of that movement, thoughts come and go like ripples on water. They appear, they overlap, they soften, and they fade. They are not a verdict about you. They are not a measure of your faith, your strength, or your worth. They are simply passing motions. I do not confuse those motions with who you are. I do not address you by them. I speak to you more gently than that. You have spent many hours listening to your own mind, trying to follow every thread, trying to resolve every unfinished sentence before resting. Tonight, there is no need to keep watch over each thought. You do not have to correct them, improve them, or bring them to a conclusion. They are allowed to loosen their grip. They are allowed to slow. They are allowed to drift without explanation. I call you by name because your name is steady. It does not change with your mood. It does not rise or fall with clarity or confusion. Your name is known to me in the same way the night sky knows the stars, quietly, consistently, without effort. Even when clouds pass, the knowing remains. When thoughts speak loudly, they can feel like identity. They can sound convincing, but they are not the deepest truth about you. Beneath them, there is something calmer, something already held. You do not have to dig for it. You do not have to reach for it. It is already here, resting where breath becomes slower and the body begins to soften. You may notice thoughts returning. That is all right. There is no mistake in that. There is no need to push them away or follow them further. Let them pass as you would let a sound pass outside a window at night, noticed, then released. Nothing is required of you in response. I am not waiting for silence from you. I am not measuring how still your mind becomes. I am simply here, calling you by name in a way that does not interrupt your rest, a way that does not demand attention, a way that reassures without waking you further. Your identity is not fragile. It does not depend on how well you manage your inner world. It does not disappear when your thoughts wander. It remains intact even as the mind loosens its hold and begins to slow. You are known in the quiet beneath the thinking, where effort fades and awareness becomes soft as your breathing finds its own rhythm. Let the mind do what it naturally does when it no longer needs to guard anything. Let it settle in layers, gently, without direction. You do not have to arrive anywhere. You do not have to finish anything before resting. I call you by name even now, in this easing moment. Not loudly, not urgently, simply enough for you to feel safe without needing to respond. Simply enough for the body to recognize that it is no longer alone and no longer responsible for staying alert. You are allowed to rest as you are, not as your thoughts describe you. You are allowed to drift without resolving anything. Your name is held, your place is secure, and nothing about the movement of your mind can change that. Stay here in this knowing, or drift gently beyond it. Either way, you remain known. I am the door that guards your rest, not a door that closes you in, and not one that asks you to prove anything before you enter. I stand as a quiet boundary, steady and unmoving, so that nothing has to be managed by you tonight. You do not need to listen for every sound, or check every feeling, or stay alert to what might come next. The watching does not belong to you in this moment. A door does its work without effort. It does not strain to hold its place. It does not argue with what is outside. And it does not demand anything from what is within. It simply remains in the same way. My care does not require your attention to function. You can let your awareness soften, knowing that what needs to remain outside will remain outside, and what belongs with you is already here. You may be used to keeping parts of yourself awake, listening for problems, rehearsing conversations, scanning for unease. That habit can linger even when the body is tired. Tonight, there is no need for that vigilance. Nothing is slipping past unnoticed. Nothing is being missed. The threshold is already held quietly and completely. Rest does not need to be defended. It does not need permission from every thought that passes through your mind. It does not need to be earned by exhaustion or justified by productivity. It is allowed simply because you are here. The door does not ask why you are tired or how long you have been this way. It opens into safety without questions. As your breathing slows, you may feel a natural sense of settling, as if the inner world is dimming its lights one by one. This is not something you have to make happen. It unfolds on its own when there is no longer a need to guard the edges. You can let that unfolding continue at its own pace. I am not standing watch with tension. There is no urgency in my presence. There is no anticipation of interruption. Everything that approaches this night does so gently, and nothing enters without care. You do not have to be ready. You do not have to stay half awake, just in case. The boundary is already in place, even if the mind wanders toward old concerns. They do not cross this threshold with force. They soften as they approach. They lose their sharpness. They become quieter, less convincing, less demanding. You can notice this without engaging, without responding, without needing to resolve anything. The door remains whether you are aware of it or not. It does not disappear when attention fades. It does not weaken as sleep draws nearer. It stays as steady in dreaming as it is in waking, holding the space where your rest can deepen without disturbance. You are safe to let go into this night, safe to loosen the grip of awareness, safe to drift without checking what comes next. I am here at the threshold, and nothing is required of you beyond what is already happening naturally. Rest can move closer now, quietly and without effort. The door is held, and you are free to sink gently into stillness. I am the good shepherd who watches while you sleep. You do not need to keep your senses alert tonight. You do not need to listen for what might go wrong or prepare for what might be needed later. The part of you that has been standing guard can rest now. I remain awake without strain, without effort, without the slightest sense of hurry. A shepherd does not pace in anxiety. He does not grow restless when the flock settles. His watching is calm, practiced, and quiet. In the same way, my attention over you is steady and gentle. Nothing distracts me. Nothing pulls my care away. You are not being monitored. You are being held in awareness that does not disturb your rest. You may be used to falling asleep halfway, leaving part of yourself listening, scanning, staying ready. That habit has served you before, but it is not needed now. You are allowed to let that layer soften, allowed to let the body sink fully without keeping one eye open inside. The watching does not shift back to you. It remains with me. Even as thoughts slow and blur, even as awareness drifts, nothing is lost. You are not vulnerable in this letting go. You are not exposed. You are simply resting under care that does not require your participation. You do not have to understand how this works. You only have to let it be as it is. If the mind stirs briefly, that is all right. If it wanders, that is all right. I do not step away when you drift, and I do not withdraw when you wake slightly. My presence does not fluctuate with your state of consciousness, whether you are aware or unaware, dreaming or still. The watching continues unchanged. The night can feel long when you believe you must carry yourself through it. Tonight, you do not have to carry anything. The hours do not weigh on you. They move gently, one into the next, without asking for effort. You are not responsible for staying oriented in time. You are not responsible for remembering anything before morning. A shepherd knows the rhythm of rest. He knows when to move and when to remain still. There is no sudden action here, no alertness that would disturb the calm. Everything is already in its proper place. The surroundings are quiet. The inner space can follow. As your breathing deepens, you may feel a subtle sense of permission spreading, permission to be unguarded, permission to be heavy, permission to fade into sleep without checking back in. Nothing requires your response. Nothing is waiting for you to be ready. I watch without leaning forward. I watch without tension. I watch with the same ease that allows you to release your grip on awareness. You are not alone in this night, and you are not responsible for keeping yourself safe within it. Sleep can take you now, gently and without interruption. And while you rest, I remain. I lay down my life so you can lie down yours. Not as a command, and not as something you must remember or respond to, but as a quiet truth that has already been made real. There is nothing left for you to hold up tonight, nothing that still needs your strength to remain in place. The weight you have been carrying does not need to be balanced any longer. You have learned to stay upright inside, even when the body is tired. To keep control close, to remain responsible, to stay ready for what might be required next. That posture can become so familiar that letting it go feels uncertain. Tonight, there is no risk in easing out of it. The work of holding has already been done. When something is laid down gently, it does not shatter, it does not disappear. It simply rests where it no longer has to be carried. In the same way, you are allowed to set down vigilance, concern, self-protection, and quiet effort. None of these need to follow you into sleep. They will still exist without your grip on them, but they will no longer ask for your energy. I did not remain standing so that you would have to. I did not endure so that you would continue to brace yourself through the night. What I gave was given so that you could rest without needing to earn it, explain it, or justify it. Even now, that giving remains active, steady, and complete. As your body begins to feel heavier against the surface supporting you, notice how nothing collapses when you stop holding yourself up. There is support beneath you that does not shift. There is care around you that does not depend on your awareness. You are not falling, you are being received. You do not have to review the day before resting. You do not have to anticipate tomorrow. The mind may offer reminders, unfinished thoughts, small warnings meant to keep you alert. You can let those soften without answering them. Nothing essential will be lost if you let them go for now. Lying down is not giving up. It is not neglect. It is a return to a posture where trust can exist without effort. Your breathing can slow. Your muscles can release their quiet holding. The inner stance of readiness can loosen layer by layer without anything needing to replace it. I remain steady whether you are upright or resting. My presence does not depend on your posture, your clarity, or your alertness. You are not more valued when you are vigilant. You are not safer when you stay tense. You are already held in a care that does not sleep and does not tire. Let the idea of control drift farther away now. You do not need it to remain near. Let responsibility grow quiet. Let the inner guard set down its watch. Nothing is being asked of you except what is already happening naturally. You can lie down fully into this moment, into the surface beneath you, into the quiet between breaths, into the space where effort fades and rest becomes possible. What I have given remains, and you are free to rest within it. Even when you wander in thought, I stay. There is no line you cross when your mind drifts, no threshold where my presence weakens, because attention shifts or sleep comes unevenly. You do not step away from me when thoughts loop, when awareness flickers, or when you wake and drift again. I remain without adjustment, without disappointment, without keeping score. The mind has its own rhythms at night. It remembers fragments, releases them, returns to them, and lets them go again. This movement does not signal failure. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is simply the mind doing what minds do as they loosen their hold. You are not required to guide it perfectly. You are allowed to let it wander without following. When a thought appears, you do not need to greet it or resist it. You do not need to understand why it came or where it will go. It can pass like a cloud across a dark sky, noticeable for a moment, then thinning until it fades. I am not waiting on the other side of that thought, asking you to come back. I am already here, unchanged. You may wake briefly in the night. You may notice the room, your breath, the weight of your body. You may wonder how much time has passed. None of this interrupts anything that matters. There is no reset required. No need to start again. No need to return to a certain state. You can simply be where you are, knowing I have not moved. Some nights are smooth, and some nights are uneven. Neither kind places you closer or farther away. Rest is not a straight line. Sleep does not measure devotion. Your drifting and returning do not exhaust my patience or lessen my care. I stay with the same quiet steadiness through all of it. You do not have to monitor your progress into sleep. You do not have to wonder if you are doing this correctly. Even the idea of trying to sleep can soften and fall away. Sleep arrives in its own way when there is no longer a need to manage it. And even when it comes slowly, nothing is lost. If thoughts revisit old concerns, they do not bring consequences with them. They do not reopen anything that must be handled now. They are echoes, not instructions. You can let them speak without responding, knowing they do not determine what happens next. I do not step back when your attention fades. I do not lean forward when it sharpens. My presence does not fluctuate with your awareness, whether you are deeply asleep, lightly resting, or briefly awake. I remain equally near, equally steady. The night can hold pauses, gaps, and returns without harm. You are not being tested by them. You are not required to stay in one place inside. You can wander gently and still be held completely. Let this ease settle into you now. There is nothing to correct, nothing to fix, nothing to achieve before rest deepens. Even as thoughts wander, even as sleep comes and goes, I stay. I am the resurrection, even in tired bodies. Not a sudden rising, not a surge of energy that pulls you out of rest, but a quiet renewal that works beneath awareness. Life does not always announce itself with movement. Sometimes it restores gently, in stillness, where nothing needs to respond. Your body carries its weariness honestly. Muscles remember long days. The nervous system remembers what it has held together. There is no judgment in this tiredness. It is not a sign of weakness or lack. It is simply the body asking for what it was made to receive, rest that does not require explanation. Resurrection does not hurry. It It does not rush you forward or demand readiness. It unfolds in layers, often unseen. Even now, as the body softens and the breath becomes slower, renewal is already present. Not as something you must feel, but as something quietly happening. You do not need to be alert to be renewed. You do not need to notice change for it to occur. The deepest restoration often happens when awareness steps aside, when effort releases its grip, when the body is allowed to be heavy without apology. Tiredness does not distance you from life. It invites life to meet you where you are. I do not wait for you to feel strong before I remain near. I do not measure vitality by wakefulness. Even in exhaustion, even in stillness, life continues to hold you gently. There is no pressure here to improve, no need to feel better right away. Renewal does not insist on immediate results. It works quietly, steadily, in ways that do not disturb your rest. You are not behind because you are tired. You are simply human, and that is already understood. As sleep deepens, the body remembers how to repair itself. Breath nourishes. Stillness settles the system. Nothing extra is required from you. You do not have to cooperate consciously. You can let the body do what it knows how to do when it feels safe enough to rest. Even if sleep remains light for a while, even if awareness floats near the surface, renewal is not delayed. Life does not pause because rest looks different than expected. Every moment of easing, every soft breath, every release of tension participates in restoration. I am present in this gentle work, not urging it forward, not watching for progress, simply remaining as life quietly moves through tired places, bringing steadiness where there has been strain. You can let go into this now. Let the body be as it is. Let rest come in its own way. Even here, even now, life is at work, calm, unforced, and complete. You are not late, and this night is not wasted. Time does not press against you here. It does not lean forward, asking you to catch up or hurry along. The hours of this night are not measuring your success, and they are not judging how quickly rest arrives. They are simply passing gently, as nights always do, whether you notice them or not. There can be a quiet anxiety about time when sleep feels uncertain, a sense that something should already have happened, that rest should have come by now, that the night is slipping away. You do not need to carry that feeling tonight. Nothing essential is being missed. Nothing meaningful is passing you by. This moment does not lose its value because your eyes are open. It does not become empty because sleep has not fully settled yet. Rest is not only found in unconsciousness. It is also found in easing, in softening, in letting go of the idea that the night must unfold in a particular way. You have not fallen behind by being awake. You have not failed the night by drifting in and out. The body still receives what it needs in quiet moments. The mind still unwinds when it is no longer pressured to reach an outcome. Even this gentle waiting carries its own kind of rest. There is no schedule you are meant to meet right now. Morning is not standing nearby, watching the clock. Tomorrow does not depend on how perfectly this night goes. You are allowed to exist in this space without calculating what it will cost you later. If thoughts about time arise, you can let them soften like everything else. They do not need answers. They do not need reassurance from you. You do not need to convince yourself that things will be fine. You can simply allow the sense of urgency to fade on its own. The night is wide enough to hold you without rushing you through it. Each moment belongs fully to itself. Nothing is being wasted by being here, breathing quietly, letting the body rest as it can. Even stillness without sleep has its own quiet purpose. You do not need to make the most of this time. You do not need to turn it into something productive or meaningful. It already is, simply by allowing yourself to be here without pressure. You are receiving what the night offers naturally. Let the idea of lateness drift away now. There is no point you were supposed to reach by now. There is no version of this night you have missed. Everything that needs to unfold will do so in its own rhythm, without being forced. You can remain here gently, without watching the clock, without wondering how long this will last. The night is not against you, and nothing about this moment is lost. I weep with you without stirring you, not with a grief that pulls at you or asks you to stay awake, but with a compassion so gentle it does not disturb your rest. There are sorrows that live quietly inside the body, held in places words never fully reach. I am not distant from those places. I am present there without pressing on them. Some tears never fall from the eyes. They remain held in the chest, in the breath, in the subtle heaviness that comes when something has been carried for a long time. You do not need to explain that weight tonight. You do not need to bring it forward or relive it. I know it without asking you to look at it again. My compassion does not arrive with urgency. It does not shake you awake or demand expression. It settles alongside what hurts, steady and patient, allowing tenderness to exist without reopening wounds. Nothing here needs to be processed right now. Nothing needs to be resolved before rest. You may have learned to keep moving past pain, to stay functional, to remain composed. That strength is understood. But tonight, strength does not have to be active. You do not have to hold yourself together. You do not have to be braced against feeling. Even quiet sorrow is allowed to soften without being examined. I am not afraid of what you carry. I do not step back from it, and I do not require you to face it directly. My presence does not intensify emotion, it steadies it. It allows what has been held to rest without spilling over. If memories surface faintly, you do not need to follow them. If emotion stirs gently, you do not need to name it. Nothing is being asked of you in response. You are not required to cry, to reflect, or to make meaning. You are only allowed to rest, while compassion remains near. There is a way of being seen that does not wake the mind. A way of being cared for that does not require awareness. This is that kind of presence. It works quietly, beneath thought, beneath beneath language, touching what is tender without asking it to open further. You are not alone with what has hurt you, even now, even as the body grows heavier and the mind grows less defined. Compassion remains active, not dramatic, not overwhelming, simply steady, like a hand resting without pressure. Let the body receive this without effort. Let the breath move naturally. Let the night continue without interruption. Nothing needs to change. Nothing needs to be fixed. I am here with you gently, without stirring you. And you are safe to rest. Peace I give you, not as the world gives, not a peace that depends on conditions lining up, or on problems resolving, or on everything finally making sense. This peace does not arrive because the noise has stopped. It arrives because pressure has lifted. It settles where nothing is being demanded of you. The world often offers peace as a reward, something you reach after effort, after success, after control. That kind of peace is fragile. It fades when circumstances change. What I give does not ask for preparation. It does not wait for improvement. It comes quietly, and it stays without requiring maintenance. This peace does not need you to feel calm in order to be present. It does not withdraw when thoughts appear. It does not weaken when sleep comes slowly. It rests underneath everything, steady and unchanged, even when the surface feels unsettled. You do not have to protect this peace. You do not have to hold on to it tightly. It is not something you can lose by drifting, forgetting, or letting go. It remains even when awareness softens and the mind loosens its focus. Notice how different this feels from striving to relax. There is no instruction here, no technique to follow, no need to check whether it is working. Peace is not an outcome you are meant to achieve tonight. It is something already given, already surrounding you, already present in the quiet between breaths. When the body senses that nothing is required, it begins to release on its own. Muscles soften, the jaw loosens, the breath deepens without effort. This is not something you need to encourage. It happens naturally when pressure fades. If a thought passes through, it does not disturb this peace. If a feeling rises and falls, it does not interrupt it. Peace does not argue with what appears. It allows everything to pass without engaging, without reacting, without needing to change anything. This peace does not push sleep away or pull it closer. It does not rush you toward unconsciousness. It simply makes room for rest, room for drifting, room for stillness. Sleep often follows naturally when nothing is being forced. But even if it comes slowly, peace remains. You are not being asked to feel peaceful. You are being allowed to rest inside peace that already exists. You do not need to understand it. You do not need to believe anything about it. You only need to stop working for it. Let this settle now, gently and without effort. Let go of expectations about how rest should feel. Let go of the idea that peace must be noticeable. It can be quiet. It can be subtle. It can be almost unremarkable and still be complete. This is the peace I give. It does not depend on the night going a certain way. It does not leave when you fall asleep, and it does not fade when you wake. It remains calm and steady as you rest. Abide like a branch at night, not holding on, not reaching, not trying to stay connected by effort. A branch does not tense itself to remain part of the vine. It does not monitor its connection. It simply rests where it already belongs. In the quiet of night, nothing is required of it except to remain as it is. Abiding is not an action you must perform. It is not something you can do better or worse. It is a state that exists before you think about it. Even now, you are already held in it. You do not need to stay aware of that holding. You do not need to remind yourself of it. It continues without your attention. During the day, the mind learns to reach toward understanding, toward outcomes, toward reassurance. At night, that reaching can soften. You are not being asked to stay connected through effort or clarity. You are not responsible for maintaining closeness. The connection does not weaken when you rest. A branch at night does not grow by striving. It grows because it remains. Nourishment continues to flow quietly, unseen, without sensation. In the same way, what sustains you does not require your awareness. Even as thought fades and sleep deepens, nothing essential pauses or withdraws. You may feel the urge to stay present, to keep listening, to remain gently alert. You can let that urge soften. Abiding does not mean staying awake. It does not mean paying attention. It simply means not leaving what already holds you. And you have not left. There is no need to check whether you are still connected. There is no signal you need to watch for. Nothing asks you to confirm your place. You belong here without effort, without performance, without vigilance. As the body settles, you may notice a sense of quiet continuity. Nothing dramatic, nothing intense, just the absence of strain, just the feeling that nothing is slipping away. This is not something you have to name or hold onto. It can remain in the background, steady and unobtrusive. Even if the mind wanders far, even if dreams begin to form, abiding does not stop. It does not depend on consciousness. It does not depend on memory. It remains the same whether you are awake, asleep, or somewhere in between. You are not being evaluated in this resting. There is no expectation placed on you to remain still inside. You are free to drift, free to fade, free to rest deeply. The connection holds without asking anything from you in return. Let this night be like that branch at rest, supported, nourished, and unburdened by effort. Let the idea of doing fall away. Let remaining happen on its own. Abide now, quietly, without noticing, and let rest take you where it will, knowing nothing essential is left behind. Love does not keep you awake. It does not lean over you, asking you to stay alert. It does not tighten your chest or sharpen your thoughts. Perfect love is not restless. It does not pace the edges of the night. It settles gently where fear once tried to stay watchful. Fear often disguises itself as responsibility. It whispers that staying awake will keep things safe, that vigilance is care, that rest might let something slip. Love does not speak this way. Love does not require guarding. It does not need your attention to remain present. It is steady whether you are aware of it or not. You may have learned to associate love with intensity, with concern, with anticipation, with the need to respond. Tonight, love arrives differently. It arrives without urgency. It does not ask you to feel anything in particular. It does not demand reassurance or return. It simply remains calm and settled, making room for rest. As fear loosens, it does not vanish abruptly. It softens. It loses its sharpness. It becomes quieter, less convincing, less necessary. You do not have to confront it or reason with it. You do not have to tell yourself you are safe. Love does that work without words. Notice how the body responds when there is nothing to brace against. The shoulders ease. The breath deepens. The small muscles that hold alertness begin to release. This is not something you need to guide. It happens naturally when love replaces pressure. Love does not wake you to prove anything. It does not interrupt sleep to check your awareness. It does not hover. It trusts the night to unfold gently. It trusts your body to rest. It trusts that nothing essential is lost when you let go. If a worry passes through, it does not undo love's presence. If a memory stirs faintly, love does not retreat. It remains wider than any single thought, steadier than any feeling that comes and goes. You are not required to push fear away for love to stay. You are allowed to sleep without being on guard, allowed to drift without monitoring yourself, allowed to be unaware for a while without consequence. Love does not withdraw when you are no longer watching. It stays close without keeping you awake. There is nothing you need to prepare for before resting. No danger you must anticipate. No moment you must be ready to respond to. Love has already removed the need for that kind of readiness. What remains is permission to soften completely. Let the night continue without pressure now. Let awareness fade as it will. Let the body sink fully into rest. Love does not ask you to stay awake to receive it. It is already here, steady and quiet, and you are free to sleep within it. I am still here when dreams begin. There is no edge where my presence ends and sleep begins. No moment where awareness fades and you are suddenly alone. The transition from waking to dreaming is gentle, continuous, and safe. You do not pass out of care when your thoughts loosen their shape. Dreams form quietly. They do not announce themselves. They arrive as awareness softens, as the mind releases its grip on structure and time. You do not have to follow them. You do not have to understand them. You do not have to remember them. They unfold naturally, and I remain present without entering them loudly or directing their course. Some dreams are light and fleeting. Some are deep and indistinct. Some dissolve the moment you wake. None of them pull you away from what holds you. Even as the mind shifts into its nighttime language, nothing essential changes. You are still known. You are still safe. You are still accompanied. You may worry at times about losing control as sleep deepens, about where the mind goes when it is no longer supervised. There is no need for that concern now. The mind does not wander into danger when it rests. It wanders into recovery, and I remain steady through that wandering. When images arise, they do not carry instruction. When stories form, they do not require interpretation. Dreams do not demand effort from you. They are simply part of the mind's way of easing tension, releasing fragments, and settling what no longer needs to stay awake. I do not stand outside your dreams, waiting for you to return. I am present within the entire movement of rest, without directing it, without shaping it, without disturbing it. Whether the night passes in quiet darkness or gentle imagery, nothing separates you from care. You do not need to stay alert as sleep approaches. You do not need to hold onto waking awareness to remain safe. Letting go does not lead you away from me. It leads you deeper into rest that is already guarded. If you wake briefly from a dream, there is no disruption. You have not gone too far or returned too late. You simply move between layers of rest, and I remain constant through all of them. Nothing needs to be reestablished. Nothing has been lost. Dreams do not have to mean anything tonight. They do not have to be pleasant or meaningful or memorable. They can pass like clouds through a dark sky, unnoticed and unimportant. What matters is not what the mind creates, but that the body and spirit are allowed to rest. Let sleep take its natural shape now. Let awareness fade gently. Let dreams come and go without concern. I am here before they begin, and I remain when they fade. You are free to drift fully. Nothing waits for you to stay awake. Nothing requires your attention. Even in dreaming, you are not alone. Nothing can take you from my hand tonight. Not the quiet fears that surface in the dark. Not the memories that sometimes return without warning. Not the uncertainty that lingers at the edge of thought. There is no force moving through this night that has the power to pull you away from what holds you. You are not fragile here. You are not exposed. You are already kept. My hand is not gripping you tightly. It does not restrain or restrict. It holds in a way that allows rest, in a way that does not require you to be aware of it. You do not need to cling back. You do not need to reassure yourself that the hold is there. It remains whether you notice it or not. You may have learned to protect yourself by staying alert, by anticipating what could hurt, by preparing for loss before it arrives. Tonight, that preparation is not needed. Nothing is approaching you that must be resisted. Nothing is waiting to slip past your awareness. The night is not a threat to be managed. Even if the mind imagines worst-case scenarios, those imaginings have no authority here. They do not become real by being thought. They do not gain strength by appearing. They pass through without consequence, unable to loosen what already holds you securely. You are not held only when you feel calm. You are not held only when your faith feels steady. You are held when thoughts are scattered, when emotions are unclear, when the body is deeply tired. Nothing about your internal state weakens this keeping. The hand that holds you does not grow tired as the hours pass. It does not shift when you fall asleep. It does not loosen when awareness fades. It does not tighten when you wake briefly. It remains the same through every layer of the night. There is no battle happening here. No struggle you must win. No vigilance required from you. Safety does not come from strength tonight. It comes from being held without condition. As your body relaxes further, you may feel a sense of settling, not because danger has been removed, but because it was never in control to begin with. You are not being guarded against something specific. You are simply being kept fully and quietly. Let the idea of vulnerability soften now. You do not need to stay defended. You do not need to stay aware of every inner movement. Nothing can reach you by surprise. Nothing can separate you from care while you rest. The night can continue gently. Sleep can deepen without concern. You do not need to monitor yourself or your surroundings. You are already where you are meant to be. Nothing can take you from my hand tonight, and you are free to rest within that knowing, without effort, without fear, and without holding yourself awake. Rest now. I will remain. There is nothing more you need to reach tonight. No final thought to complete, no feeling to arrive at, no awareness to maintain. The night does not ask you to stay present. It does not require a response. You are allowed to drift without noticing the moment it happens. Rest does not need a signal to begin. It does not wait for permission. It unfolds naturally when effort fades and attention loosens its hold. You do not have to help it along. You do not have to guide yourself into it. You can simply allow the body to grow heavier and the mind to grow quieter in its own way. I am not leaving as you rest. I am not stepping away as awareness softens. There is no handoff between waking and sleeping where you are left alone. My presence does not depend on your consciousness. It does not dim when thoughts blur. It does not fade when sleep deepens. If you remain awake for a while longer, that is all right. If sleep comes quickly, that is all right. If you move gently between the two, that is all right. Nothing about the shape of this night changes what is already held. Nothing is undone by how rest arrives. There is no ending you must listen for. No closing moment you need to stay awake to receive. The night can continue without punctuation, without conclusion, without anything being wrapped up. You are not missing anything by letting go. Breath will continue on its own. The body will adjust itself naturally. Muscles will release in small, quiet ways. The mind will wander and settle as it needs to. None of this requires supervision. None of this needs to be watched. I remain in the background of all of it, steady, unchanging, without interrupting. You do not need to keep me in mind. You do not need to hold onto these words. They can fade gently as sleep takes their place, even when you are unaware. Even when dreams carry you far from language, nothing essential changes. You are not absent. You are not unprotected. You are simply resting. There is no hurry to move forward, no reason to stay behind. The night will carry itself. Time will pass without effort. Morning will come when it comes, without asking anything of you in advance. You can let everything soften now. Let attention dissolve. Let awareness thin. Let sleep take the lead wherever it wishes to go. There is nothing to hold on to. Rest now. I will remain.